Hello, my friends. Let's give a ring here. Yay! It's so great to be back with you. I know I've been gone for a little while, and I'll tell you, I was exhausted. I had to stay in bed for several days and recover from probably just completely overworking and staying up late, working and all this kind of stuff. I'm feeling much better and working on getting to 100%. So without further ado, let's talk about what's going on in the Schumann resonance right now. And I'd also like to talk about the energy trends and the trends for October, because there's a whole setup of a story in the Schumann. And I know a lot of you are probably looking at it saying, what is going on? Because it kind of looks bizarre. In some ways, it looks like nothing's happening. But there's a lot going on beneath the surface, and a lot of the energies are sort of cooking, and I want to go through that. What the images say, and I'm not going to go into the numbers too much in this video because I just haven't had the energy to really dig in. It's a challenging time. The key thing to remember in all of this is the spark of life, the spark of the creator that you are. This Bible quote came up for me when I was doing some reading, and it really gives me courage and it gives me strength, when things are challenging, to know that the highest good will prevail, my highest outcomes will prevail, and that sometimes going through challenges leads us onto a better path. Sometimes we don't know we need to change, or it's hard to change, and situations that seem challenging can give us the energy actually to finally ignite that spark within us that first lets us see the truth of what's going on, and second gives us the energy to change. So I just wanted to read this before we look at the Schumann. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11, which when I look at that, I see 11:11, because this reduces to an 11. All right. This is the chart for today. The most important thing in this chart is this. Look, it looks like the technological effect has ended just a few hours ago. Just after, this will be right here, 2100 on this chart is 7 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Eastern time. So this effect lasted from September 12th through October 5th. If we go back a couple days to October 2nd, we had the Trump announcement that he had COVID-19. That came right here. And you saw literally almost exactly 24 hours later what looks like a pretty big timeline shift here, or a surprising shift in strategy. It's interesting, before that happened, there was some, I would call it movement here, in this line of energy. And then it becomes lightened, and even some nice bright greens there. And then we have the strategy shift. And that was at, hold on one sec, that was a little higher than 12. So right here, so I don't know, 13 to 14 hertz. Now, what I thought was interesting about this, there seems to be both a timeline shift and a strategy shift. And the strategy was a surprise. That's what this shows here. Now, what's interesting is that, see these theta waves here at about 7.83 here? This is in the theta wave range for humans. So this is kind of in our unconscious, our dream state, our intuitive state. Now, if we are multidimensional beings, then it's my view that we can hold more than one of these states at the same time. I do know, as a person with a spiritual practice and with the ability to access different dimensional states of being, I know that I can hold both a intuitive state of being at the same time that I'm in a conscious state of being about my humanity and my physical world. So I can hold both those states. What I'm saying is that during our waking hours, when we're going about living our life, I believe that we have access to this. People talk about holding a fifth dimensional frequency. To me, if you're able to live that during the day, then you'd be able to access this during the day. Now, I'm bringing this up because you'll see that the timeline shift didn't happen at the intuitive level. At the intuitive level, all is well. It's like we knew this was coming. Look where it happened. See? It happened here. Okay, and we're going up to 16, but this basically is primarily in the alpha waves. Okay, and then into the low beta waves. So into our waking consciousness, where we integrate it with our mental thoughts and live it in our physical body. Isn't that awesome? And looks like there's a little final clearing here of energy before this happened. It's just so exciting. And if you think about what were the insights that you had starting after the Trump announcement Friday. Okay, so since then, especially from Friday to Saturday, what were the insights you had? What clearings were these? Well, all of this is what contributed to a shift in the timeline. But on the national and global scale, obviously the leader of the free world going into the situation and treating this virus that has plagued the entire globe for, I guess, 8 months now, or possibly longer, because there's some of us that think that it started before that. But anyway, I won't go into that. All right, now, so here's the timeline shift on today's chart. And then, now this is really interesting too. I didn't write it up here, but I'll just show you. See here? Let me just do this, because I like to use, as I've said before, I like to use props. So look here. See, here you are. We've got almost like a loop-de-loop, a turnaround, okay? A pivot. And it's so interesting because it goes straight from 7.83 down to this level right here, which is right at 12. So right into the alpha waves. It's just so exciting. It's like a pivot. So here we have a surprising shift in strategy. And then we have here another pivot. And these are all in green for the most part. So it's in the human world. And look at this. You have this little black dot that attempts to stop this pivot, and it just gets blown past. It just gets blown past. The black dots to me talk to the archonic effects here. All right, now, when I looked at this here in this chart on October 5th, it looked like pincers. Like to a certain extent, it reminded me of. No, I'm not going to say that. But like when you have a wrench and you have to open that mouth, and then sometimes there's little measurements. I'm not good with metal tools, but those of you who are in construction or know how to build things, to me these look like measuring devices here. Oh, let me get my little arrow back. These look like little measurements here. See, like the distance between there and there, the distance between there and there and there and there. And obviously you've got another shift here, okay? And you've got light imbuing the matrix. I'm going to show you where this started in the trends in a couple minutes. But these measurements and these pinchers, that's what it looked like to me. And then it makes so much sense. Look at how then you get the technological effect ending. So I wonder if this is measurements sort of being made, right? And then the technological effect ends because whatever was needed to be done at this particular time is completed. This is the longest technological effect that we have had to my knowledge, okay? to my knowledge. There's been times where it's lasted a couple days, but this has lasted almost 3 weeks, I guess, from October 12th, the beginning of October 12th, to the end of the day almost on October 5th on these charts, right, on Tomsk time. All right, now let me show you where the trend started, and then I'm going to wrap up because I decided I need to make these videos a little bit shorter to conserve my energy right now. And here's what I want to show you. This started going right before the full moon was on October 1st. Okay, so between the new moon in September and October 1st full moon, this is what happened. You had this archon show up in the chart, and it was interesting. There's a lot of space on either side of this image here. Okay, and what I thought was interesting was, now the archon is like a demonic type entity, just shows up, and I thought it was interesting because you see the little black dots on the spine here going literally all the way down in here in a curly pattern, almost attempting to emulate DNA. Okay, but look, it doesn't get all the way down, it stops. And this is what I've determined, because I've been looking at these charts. It appears that the black energy can't go into the gamma brainwaves, which I think is really interesting. And what that says is, so I these little black particles, when I do energy work, I see often have seen demonic energy, specifically of the archonic type, as being looking like little black balls. And when people are really infested with this, which I have not seen for actually a few years now, but when they're really infested, they're just filled with hundreds or thousands of these things. And I'll just say this in a space of sacred discharge imbued by the violet flame, calling Archangel Michael. And just let's launch the sacred flame here, so that I'm not creating with this energy. I'm just telling a story of what was. And so the fact that these lower forces can't get into the higher brainwaves, what does that say? It says that there are spaces in the human being of safety naturally given to us from a physical level. It's interesting because you don't see them at the very low end or the very high end, okay? And you just kind of see them maybe in our conscious world, and here a little bit in the, let's see, do they? Yeah, they're there in the 7.83. Okay, so in the which is the non-physical, right? The dream time. Okay, so if you feel beset, okay, if you feel beset, not just by negative energy, but by negative circumstances of any kind, what this says is that you can go within and find a quiet place where that doesn't exist in your field at certain levels of frequency. Isn't that cool? That was the big insight that I had from looking at this image, and actually several images, in the videos before this. I just hadn't said it yet. Oh, that was so great. And this relates, in my view, with connecting with God, or connecting with the divine as you see it within you. Okay, that divine space, I believe, helps us access these places where we're not subject in the physical body to this. I could go into that more, but I want to keep the video short here. Now, here's what happened. We had Yom Kippur, okay, which is a high holy day in the Jewish religion. And it's a day of atonement, or at one-ment. And I noted this because it is a high holy day. And what does it mean to become at one with the divine? It means to clear ourselves of actions, thoughts. Now, I'm not Jewish, so this is my personal interpretation based on my upbringing and my spiritual, my upbringing in Christianity and my spiritual work that I've done and learned, but in a self-guided fashion. But I've gone through my own atonements, okay? And to become one with God, it not just means clearing sort of energy that's not in our highest good from the field. It means making choices to come into alignment with divine will as expressed through us as an individual human being. So it's fascinating because on the Day of Atonement, we get this real clearing in the chart, clearing of energy. And then look what happens, okay? We get a view into the archonic world. Why is this so close to the day of Yom Kippur? I think because these are the things that separate us from God. So if we can see them and see what they are, then, when you can call a thing by its name, then you are able to make a clear choice of yes or no. Yes, it's okay, or no, I do not consent. And it was so fascinating because at the beginning of this, and for some reason, normally my computer will clarify this really well, and it did before. I don't know why it's not doing it now. So it's not coming across clearly like when I expand the images, this pixelation. But what is here at the beginning of this, it's almost like a club of energy. And you see again the swirling. It's like it's trying to get into our DNA, or it wasn't our DNA and now it's being released. Okay, where I mean, if DNA is made of light, then technically it really couldn't get in because it would be shattered, okay? Because high vibrational, high dimensions of light will shatter darkness, okay? But what you see is, it could, it could want to get into, human life, which it clearly has been over thousands of years in our societies. But now in atonement, right, we can clear this. We can say, no, I do not consent, because now we're seeing it more clearly. And I don't know if you can see it here, but I was so stunned because what I saw here was an upside down cross. And the upside down cross, obviously indicating the satanic energy, or an entrance into that, or a club, right? A club of that. Because what is the nature of force? This energy works through force. And why does it have to work through force? Because it's going against divine will. When things are in alignment with divine will, they flow freely. And so I'm just going to call in Archangel Michael here by my side while I talk about this. But here's the archonic world. And so here's basically, you could think of it as, the gates of hell and the fire, okay, of darkness here and burning. And so in looking at this, there were a lot of images and that sort of thing, faces and different things I could see in the fires here. And the fact is when we're not living in alignment with divine will for us, when we're not in alignment with the path that is meant to be ours from birth, the life that we desire and the life that we deserve, being off of that path can feel like this, okay? It can feel so awful. And there you have some of the black spots there. Okay, so this was the setup going in. Now let's go to the next chart. Whew. Okay, now so fascinating. Okay, so we move through, first we had the Archon, then we have the lower, the lower fire, okay, the fire of darkness, and of that lifestyle. And then it was so fascinating. Look what happens. Bam. We go straight up against a hard stop, okay? A hard stop of divine light comes in and says, no more. And so these energies strengthen us. So if you desire to see the end of this, okay, in your life, if you desire to align with divine will, the background energies support this now. Okay, it supports at-one-ment. It supports atonement. It supports moving back into alignment. And look what happens. Sorry. Okay, so basically, the divine comes in and says no, and what happens? You get this surge of energy from mostly the red, and then you see how it turns even to dark brown and burnt burnt red, but you have a lot of this little black spots here of archonic energy, and then it's in kind of a spirochete, excuse me. And I think now I want to thank Andrea for first of all, she's the one that gave me the term spirochete, because she has a lot of knowledge about healing and healing from physical illness. So I could see the curlicue, but spirochetes are associated with human disease. Okay. Now here, what I saw in the chart was the Hermit. And I knew I needed to call Andrea and ask her about the Hermit, because she is so good with archetypal figures. The Hermit is one of my favorite images in the tarot deck. And basically, it's an old man. And in the tarot deck, he's faced to the left, and he raises a lamp. Okay. He raises a lamp. So he's raising a light in the darkness. And the light of his lamp is directly, in my view, related to the light in his heart, his divine connection. He's a very solitary figure. And I've always had a real fondness for him. But he faces again to the left. This is what I saw here. He faces to the left and raises his lamp up. And both he is very grounded in this reality. Look. All the way to 40 hertz plus, and his lamp as well here, grounded in our reality. So this is happening. It's not just a suggestion. It's there's a lot of power behind this image. He raises his lamp in the darkness, and I believe this hard stop here, as the spirochete barrels towards him, he raises the lamp. And I believe this divinely inspired hard stop comes from the Hermit. And I've explained in other videos how time is not linear always in these, even though it's tracked linearly in the graph, the images are non-linear, which is fascinating. So he raises his lamp, and then a hard stop happens. He raises his lamp as the carrier of human disease comes towards him, and look what happens. It just crumbles at the force of this light. Now, I asked Andrea to give me some info on and then what happens is, you see all the people here who receive, it's like the light, it bounces out from him into all these others, and then from them into the matrix, lighting the whole thing up. And I think Alex, my friend Alex, and I chatted about this particular here. The light in the matrix lit it all the way up, bringing an extended level of light to the matrix. And then look, grounding this in our reality. So these are big moves, and big moves in the positive for humanity. Now, Andrea described the Hermit in this way. The Hermit is an introverted figure, but he is filled with wisdom based on experiences. It's both ancestral wisdom, personal wisdom, and historical wisdom. It sets him apart. It sets us apart when we carry this energy of the Hermit. It sets us apart from society and from the world. His wisdom is earned and gained and fully embodied. Whew! When he looks back in the chart, it's like a review of the past, a review of the wisdom he's gained, but a review of the past, applying that wisdom to create a better future. You've got the true personal power here, completely aligned with his integrity, completely aligned with his wisdom, completely aligned with divine will within him. And like a mighty river, according to Andrea, this flows out from him, benefiting himself and benefiting the world, benefiting others around him. So powerful. Okay, so then we go from the Hermit into the current circumstances. You had another flame light here. You had another impression of the matrix, okay, more clearing of the matrix, the red of the matrix, which leads us essentially into the current day. Thank you for listening. Please share. There's a lot of people that I need to thank, and I'll be doing that. And my love flows out to you today.